A cockpit on a flight that left from Los Angeles. Reports he had a suspicious item. Our team is standing by tonight. Also breaking as President Trump departs for his first foreign trip, two breaking headlines. First, ABC News has learned that as part of the FBI investigation into Russia, investigators are now looking at a staffer currently inside the White House. Also, what we've learned about the president's conversation with the Russians after firing James Comey. The president saying, "I faced great pressure because of Russia." That's taken off. Also, new reporting tonight after a car barrels into a crowd in Times Square. Police are now calling it a deliberate act. The driver allegedly telling authorities, "I wanted to kill them all." And severe storms tonight hitting as we come on from Texas up to Illinois. And that whole system now moving east tonight.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Friday night. And we begin with the breaking news, the emergency playing out on board an American Airlines flight. Reports of a man trying to break into that cockpit. Authorities say he was holding a laptop computer. F-22 fighter jets escorting the plane. The airline has now confirmed the incident. On a flight from Los Angeles to Honolulu, Flight 31, the plane has landed, and take a look. The man was stopped, subdued, taken off the plane in handcuffs. ABC's David Curley live in Washington tonight. The Department of Homeland Security already investigating this. David, what have you learned?
Well, as you mentioned, David, American Airlines flight was met by law enforcement when it landed in Honolulu, and it had been escorted by two F-22 aircraft when it landed. That man, who you're seeing taken off the aircraft, is in detention at this hour. We are told by one source that the man, said to be a foreign national, tried to breach the cockpit of the Airbus A321. We're told the man was standing near a restroom with a laptop in his hand. He was told by a flight attendant to sit down. That's when he made a move and tried apparently to open the cockpit door. And that is when he was subdued. We're also told that law enforcement officials are analyzing what they're calling a suspicious item that was associated with this case. They're not confirming that that was that laptop, but of course the threat of explosives hidden in laptops has led to the ban on electronics bigger than a cell phone on flights from 10 airports from the Middle East and Africa. And just this week, David, American officials were in Europe talking about potentially extending that ban on electronics bigger than a cell phone on flights coming from possibly all of Europe. It is a growing concern by security and intelligence officials. David?
David Curley leading us off. David, our thanks to you. ABC senior national correspondent Matt Gutman is outside Honolulu tonight. And Matt, passengers on board that flight witnessing this disturbing scene.
That's right, David. It must have been a harrowing scene. 181 passengers, 6 crew members. They must have seen that man being subdued, taken down, and then hauled off in handcuffs. We now know that all of those passengers are off the plane. They are safe. There was about a 30-minute delay here in Honolulu, but apparently airport officials are trying to make that up now. Now, what must have made it even more harrowing and terrifying for the passengers who couldn't see him being taken down, those two F-22 Raptors interceding and escorting the plane back to Honolulu. That must have made it even more frightening. Those came from Pacific Command, taking off from air bases like the one right behind me, David.
Again, no word on a motive, but the reason this alerted authorities on that flight was because the man was waiting near the bathroom, we are told, and with that laptop amid those concerns over laptop computers on flights all over the world. Matt Gutman, David Curley, our thanks to both of you as we continue to follow this. We are also following breaking developments involving President Trump tonight. We have new reporting about what the president told the Russians inside the Oval Office during their meeting. And remember, it was the day after the president fired James Comey at the FBI. Tonight, the New York Times first reporting that the president said, "I just fired the head of the FBI. He was a nut job." The Times reporting that the president said, "I faced great pressure because of Russia." That's taken off. ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl on why those words could become very important and how the White House is responding tonight.
As President Trump boarded Air Force One for his first overseas trip, another shoe in the Russia story was about to drop. Tonight, the New York Times is reporting that less than 24 hours after firing James Comey, the president boasted about his decision to those Russian officials he met with in the Oval Office. "I just fired the head of the FBI," the president told them, according to the Times. "He was crazy, a real nut job." Images of the extraordinary conversation between the American president and Russia's foreign minister and ambassador were captured by a photographer for the Russian government who was allowed into the room. and details of the conversation included in an official White House document which was read to the New York Times. Trump has acknowledged Russia was on his mind when he fired the FBI director.
When I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
The Times reports that the day after firing Comey, the president told those Russian officials, "I faced great pressure because of Russia. That's taken off," adding, "I'm not under investigation." In the same meeting, Trump also shared sensitive intelligence with the Russians. All this sets the stage for a coming showdown with Comey, who is expected before long to tell his story to Congress. The president claims Comey assured him he is not under investigation, but Comey has told associates that's just not true. Comey has also told associates that Trump even asked him to drop the investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
Did you at any time urge former FBI Director James Comey in any way, shape, or form to close or to back down the investigation into Michael Flynn? And also, as you look back...
No. Next question.
Sources close to Comey say the former FBI director kept meticulous notes, including about a dinner where he says the president asked him to pledge his loyalty. Today, a friend of Comey says the director was disturbed by the president's overtures, particularly at this moment, early on in the administration. Comey was summoned to meet with the president, but tried to blend into the curtains.
He really wanted to kind of blend in and not be singled out. It was, like almost like a chameleon, camouflaged against the wall.
But the president spotted him.
He's become more famous than me.
Comey was just completely disgusted by the episode. He thought it was an intentional attempt to compromise him in public.
John Carl with us live tonight from the White House. And John, the White House tonight, and this was significant today, is not disputing this conversation between President Trump and the Russians in the Oval Office.
They are not denying it. They are not confirming it either. But White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer has responded with a lengthy statement that condemns Comey, actually criticizing him for hurting relations with Russia. Spicer says, quote, "The president has always emphasized the importance of making deals with Russia. By grandstanding and politicizing the investigation into Russia's actions, James Comey created unnecessary pressure on our ability to engage and negotiate with Russia." David?
John Carl live at the White House, who will then be traveling with the president. John, our thanks to you. In the meantime, the White House also dealing with another bombshell tonight. ABC News has now learned that in the FBI investigation into possible collusion with the Russians before the election, investigators are now interested in someone currently working inside the White House. We knew they were interested in retired General Michael Flynn, who resigned, forced out 24 days in. But now the investigation continues, including at least one person currently in the West Wing. ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas tonight.
Tonight, sources tell ABC News that investigators looking into whether there was collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians in the 2016 election are now interested in at least one staffer inside the White House. It's unclear what the exact focus is, and officials declined to name the person, but the Washington Post is reporting it's someone close to the president. Investigators have already been looking into retired General Michael Flynn, who lasted just 24 days as National Security Advisor. But now they say they're looking at someone still in the West Wing. The Russia investigation has accelerated since General Flynn was forced to resign in February after allegedly lying to White House officials about his conversations with the Russian ambassador. After his forced resignation, President Trump openly supported Flynn.
Michael Flynn, General Flynn, is a wonderful man.
This week, the Justice Department turning the FBI investigation over to a special counsel. Yesterday at the White House, when asked by David Muir if he supports the idea of a special counsel, the president said, "I believe it hurts our country terribly." Trump insisting this is the, quote, single greatest witch hunt of a politician in American history.
The entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion between certainly myself and my campaign, but I can always speak for myself and the Russians, zero.
The special counsel, former FBI Director Robert Mueller, is already at work for what is expected to be a sweeping probe. And a leading Republican on the Hill suggesting the president is entitled to his opinion, but that he should honor the decision and cooperate. This after being briefed by the man who decided to bring the special counsel, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein.
The takeaway I have is that everything he said was that you need to treat this investigation as if it may be a criminal investigation.
And Pierre Thomas with us live from our Washington bureau tonight. And Pierre, your sources tonight telling you that ex-FBI Director James Comey is still preparing to testify. Do we know when that could happen?
David, sources close to Comey tell me he wants to testify in open session before Congress, but with the appointment of a special counsel and the potential that Comey could be a witness, it's unclear if he will testify next week, David.
All right, stay tuned on that front, Pierre. Thank you. At this hour, the president is in the air on his way to Saudi Arabia. 9 days, 5 countries, and this question tonight. Will his words during the campaign now play a role again? And how will the president explain these headlines here at home to the world leaders he's about to meet with? ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega in Saudi Arabia tonight, where the president hopes to turn the page.
Tonight, Air Force One en route to Saudi Arabia, and when President Trump arrives in the morning, this will greet him. Streets lined with American flags, giant billboards showing his face with the Saudi king.
We just landed Saudi Arabia. Most of the White House press corps getting off this flight, flying ahead of the president. Every move, every word of his will be under a microscope on this trip.
The president hoping to send a message to the Muslim world by making this his first stop. But the political chaos at home is casting a shadow. His comments from the campaign trail, too.
I think Islam hates us. There's something there that there's a tremendous hatred.
9 days, 5 countries, the world's great religious centers, from Saudi Arabia, the birthplace of Islam, to Israel, then the Vatican. The president and the Pope meeting for the first time following their very public clash over the border wall last year. Pope Francis called building a wall unchristian.
Non è cristiano.
I am a Christian. I'm proud of it. Okay, for a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful.
And Cecilia Vega joined us tonight from Saudi Arabia. And Cecilia, the White House, we know, sees this first foreign trip as a chance really to turn the page, a sort of reset here. But the president did tell me yesterday he's aware that world leaders are watching the headlines back here in the U.S., that those leaders are very much aware of the chaos swirling this White House back here at home.
That is exactly right, David. And in fact, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, has been working on this trip since day one, since President Trump took office. I'm told that the big highlight will be a speech on Sunday where the president will talk about extremism, not about Islam, but in terms of good versus evil. But David, those headlines, that chaos is following him right here to Saudi Arabia.
Cecilia Vega with us tonight. Cecilia, thank you. And next this evening, we do have new reporting here about the driver who barreled into a crowd in New York's Times Square. We also have stunning new images of that horror, the driver mowing people down, blocks later, crashing his car into a barrier. That's the only thing that stopped him. Nearly 24 injured, and an 18-year-old tourist is dead. And tonight, prosecutors have now revealed they say it was a deliberate act. ABC's Lindsay Davis in Times Square.
New disturbing video tonight of the mayhem in Times Square. Everyone you're about to see survived this horrific attack. The suspect in this car turns directly into helpless pedestrians, then continues, barreling down one of the busiest sidewalks in the world, block after block, appearing to aim directly at the crowds.
He waited for those cars to pass, and he accelerated, striking down these pedestrians. That goes to his state of mind and his motivation.
Police claim that driver, 26-year-old Richard Rojas, said he wanted to kill them all and that police should have shot him. Rojas is seen here trying to flee. That's when Kenya Braddock's right behind Rojas there in the hat helped stop him, holding Rojas' head while an officer handcuffed him.
You went over there and you tackled him. You stopped him.
I stopped him.
From doing any more damage.
That's correct.
Did he say anything to you?
He was just screaming, but there were no words.
Rojas handcuffed and in court today, charged with 20 counts of attempted murder and 1 count of murder. 18-year-old Alyssa Ellsman, who was visiting from Michigan, lost her life. He was apprehended at the scene after speeding down 3 streets, creating 60 seconds of terror, hitting nearly 24 people, and the car doesn't stop until it slams into these steel security barriers. Crowds are all around, and tonight the NYPD is crediting those bollards with saving lives.
There's many more people that would have probably been killed or seriously injured if it wasn't for the security measures that were put in place on 45th Street.
And Lindsay Davis with us live tonight. Lindsay, Times Square, of course, one of the most watched, busiest areas in the world. And tonight you've learned that authorities are now reevaluating security there?
Exactly, David. The mayor says that the city plans to reevaluate security not only here but in other key areas. And just in the last 24 hours, they put up these concrete barricades. There is an increased police presence. And that's on top of the things that they're doing that we cannot see. They're just being extra vigilant, David.
All right, Lindsay Davis, we know security teams do great work down there. We see it every day when we go to do GMA. Lindsay, our thanks to you. And there is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Friday. The deadly fire at an American shopping center. A firefighter killed in the line of duty, 2 more firefighters injured in the blaze, and we'll have new headlines coming from that scene coming up. Also, the suspect barricaded inside a church after attempting to light a car on fire, and what we've just learned on that front. We're also following breaking news involving the weather tonight. Storms hitting at this hour, severe weather from Texas all the way up to Illinois. That system now moving east, and meteorologist Rob Marciano standing by live with the storm track for us tonight.
Predictable. The comfort in knowing where things are headed. Because as we live longer and markets continue to rise and